with me.
Cool. Lego True Competition.
It can be. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 101. We're at the triple digits now, forever. And
Wait, there was 100th episode?
Oh, I know. You were there, right?
Maybe.
Wow. Wow. Well, I guess we can talk about that in a second. But remember, before we get into it, you can find this episode on our previous episodes, anywhere you find a podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I got a notification today, like on my emails, on how well we're doing on Spotify. And for some reason, it's saying like we're in the top 5th percentile of like videos shown on Spotify. I'm like, what? So it doesn't feel that way, but it's the way Spotify kind of works with their analytics is kind of weird. But also, if you can tell my voice, I'm a little bit under the weather. But like always, we have Ninja.
I'm actually here this time.
The plastic architect.
Hello.
And today we have Cabbage Face Bricks. How's it going, man?
I'm good. How is everyone? What am I talking about?
Good.
We're
They're
good.
good too.
Sick.
except for being sick, we're all good.
I'm
And
like
Ninja made
freezing
it.
That part.
cold. I was totally fine, and then boom, it just hit me, and I'm like, ugh. So
Yeah.
if I'm a little out of it today, sorry. But
Is
You're
it?
doing great, Shai. You're doing great.
all right,
It's
cool.
3 days leading up, 3 days with it, 3 days to get rid of it. That's what they say.
Oh gosh, got so much to do in 10 days. As far as Lego is concerned, what do we got? We got new Ninjago. There's a lot of. I mean, I was expecting a lot more to be announced by now. I'm surprised the modular hasn't been.
I was gonna
leaked
say,
yet.
have you seen it yet?
No, have you?
No, that's so exciting.
It's,
I did get
'cause
the
it's-
Eiffel Tower though. We got it.
You
for
did?
yeah, not for myself. It's for my aunt, and so I got it for her, which I'm really excited
Wait,
about.
are you gonna build it for her?
interesting.
No, I'm gonna build it with her. So I built the Grand Emporium with her. That was like her first set she ever built, and she like loved it. And then I took it home. Like that was my set, and then she's like, "No, I like this. I like want my own." So I gave her the bouquet, and she was into that. But she didn't enjoy building it by herself. And also, like, of course, I forgot that the bouquet has instructions on black backgrounds, which is like just absolutely terrible. And she's 3, so like that was just the worst. Anyway, so like Sans and I went over there and like helped her with it earlier this week, and we were like, she wanted the Titanic. Like when the Titanic came out, she was like, I want it so badly. And then we told her about the Eiffel Tower, and she got so excited, and her like eyes lit up. She already knows where in the house she wants to put it. She wants to get a lighting kit and make it sparkle. And I was like, okay, so
That's super cute.
yeah.
You're the first person I know that's bought it.
I think Lauren Bryce, which Bricks also bought one too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She did?
Because,
Nice.
I don't know many people on this side of the world that's taken the plunge and bought that thing.
That's
Mhm.
awesome for you guys right around the corner.
Oh, yeah. We could go see it, I suppose, in an hour or so. But it's going to take up a lot of space. It's a big old set.
Yeah, they live in like a really big condo. It's like a 3-bed, 3,000 square foot condo, like out. It's maybe not 3,000. No, that's probably.
I was about to say 3,000 is a lot.
Yeah, it's maybe like 2,500 square feet. It's huge. They have like
Wow.
two. It's one of those like places that has like 2. They're like retired. That's like they didn't have kids. So
Yeah.
they have like 2 living rooms. It's like it's really big. It's like it feels like it's twice the size of my place, which would make it like close to 3,000. And she did needlepoint for like the last 50 years, and so she's basically filled up her walls with like needlepoint, and like I
Okay.
have a bunch of her needlepoint stuff. And she always like loves puzzles and stuff. And then she had a stroke a couple of years ago, actually, like right in the middle of the pandemic. And like we thought we were gonna lose her, and blah 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 blah. Anyway, she's like doing way better, and like the Lego is actually like pretty good for her. Like she has a hard time a little bit with it, like sometimes like understanding the pieces and stuff because of her stroke. Like she's super smart, like PhD in chemistry, like used to work at like was like the highest ranked like woman at GE for a really long time.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, and
Wow.
so it's really cool to do this with her. She's like they're like my second parents, and so it's like when I didn't even like think twice about the price with her. I know that sounds ridiculous, but like I never really get her presents. You know what I mean? Like, but they've like gotten me stuff over so many years, and I was just like, she wanted it, she was excited. I was like, I can get this for you, and it was fun. Anyway.
I can imagine if you're building it like that together, it'd actually be quite a fun set to build because it's going to be quite samey, a bit like the Colosseum behind me. That was it wasn't the most fun build, and that's polite. It was boring as sin, but because it's just repetitive the whole way around.
Yeah.
But
same
if
thing,
I was to
bro.
build that with someone else and they were to do sections, I think it'd probably be more fun than just doing it on your own.
It's like a
Yeah,
ton
and
of bags.
I think it's gonna take us like a long time to do it, like slowly. Like I'll go over there like once or twice a week or something.
Yeah,
She lives like
yeah.
20 minutes away. Every time I go over there, they like make lunch, like for me, for us, like so it's and like Sans has a relationship with them, so it's good.
That's cool. It's cool.
So wait, did
I
you
was
keep the
thinking-
apartment? Did you keep the apartment promo?
Oh, the promo.
It hasn't
Oh,
arrived
yeah.
yet. We probably will because we'll probably build it with her. I don't know if she'll like. I have no idea. I mean, she can have it if she wants it. I don't think she'll appreciate it, to be totally fair. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm. This is gonna be sad, but like we will probably get the Eiffel Tower at some point.
I'd love it because I love the architecture set. So I'd love to have all of them.
Yeah.
Because I trained to be a civil engineer after I went to school, so that kind of thing really interests me. But I just have no space for it. So it's like
No, yeah. I would have
Um,
bought it for myself too. Same thing. Like I don't know where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
And like I think it's definitely what I can't even believe you bought the Coliseum. Like to me that was like Titanic. Those ones are just like you have to. I guess like the Falcon and the AT-AT are also like anything that's like that kind of scale. I've only bought knowing where I was gonna put it, even though like I might not have done that yet. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah, you've got to have a home for it ready. Yeah.
yeah. Otherwise, you're just like building it and like taking it apart and putting it in storage.
Yeah, it's one set I could not get because like I love Rome. I've been to Rome like quite a few times, and it's like one of my favorite cities in the world. And the Colosseum, I always remember seeing it for the first time, and I was just like, "How the hell do they build that?" It's like it's so impressive. And when it came out, I was like, "I need to get it." Because it's like,
yeah. When you have that like feeling, I think that's like worth it.
Yeah.
Like France is like really special to like my family. Like when they immigrate, or I guess when they were refugees, like that's where they found like quite little refuge for like a year or two before they like came to the US. So that's like where they waited for their visas and stuff. So like it's in Paris specifically, and like my whole family speaks French, and so it's like very emotional. Like basically when the US like drops out of the World Cup, we're rooting for France most of the time. So that's
well, I'm English. That's tough for me, that one.
yeah. Well, so that was hard for us because like my family spent like 5 years in the UK. And so we would also like, I don't know, we're very like flippant once the US like drops out. And so, and then we have like a lot of family that lives in Brazil. And so we're like, we in theory are tied to like a lot of like powerhouse, like, teams.
Yeah, you got a good choice there, to be fair.
Yeah, but this year it's like really fun to watch the US. So
yeah, I mean they drew with us, and it was it wasn't a very good game to watch if you're an English fan, but for an American fan, it was probably great because we're one of the best teams in the world, But
which
for
is
our
like
point of
so
view,
weird for us. Yeah, as someone who like grew up watching, and was like, I was watching with my family. I'm not really watching like this year that much because like it's fine. I'm not like super interested in waking up early, but what's it called? Like I just remember watching when it like wasn't popular here, and I remember when it became popular here, and it's like become a lot more popular now. And there's been like enough of a generation to like play and be trained by like a bunch of Europeans that came over here. And so like now this is like what you're seeing with like the super young team, which is like really cool.
Yeah, I mean there's some good players in there play for big teams in Europe,
Yeah, exactly.
And you guys have got the next World Cup with Canada and Mexico, so that'd be interesting to see how that.
We'll definitely have to go to a game.
There we go. Little fact for you.
It won't be as early too.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not too bad here. So 7:00, there's a game on now, and then it was 10 in the morning, so I watched at work, and then 1, and then 3ish or something like that. So
yeah, the 10 in the morning is like pretty rough. Like my dad's been getting up,
Yeah.
and then he goes to the sports bars, and he's like, come with us, and like we're not into sports bars, so like we don't go. And I'm like, how is it? He's like, it's great. I'm watching on my cell phone in the back because I'm so far away from the TV. I'm like
so why are you even?
I know, but he loves being in the environment. He like loves people screaming around him.
Yeah, those are always fun. That's the best part about like any game is when the entire crowd's into it and you're all together, all wearing the same clothes, cheering, booing, yelling, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then you either all walk out happy or walk out all pissed off. So
I actually think it's like one of the few like bar environments you can have fun at sober.
Yeah, I agree with that.
True.
Yeah. And so Sans and I don't drink, and I was like, oh, we can go. And he's like, I don't like sports. I don't like bars. I don't like. I was like, okay, fine.
The odds are stacked against him.
Fine.
Yeah,
All right.
it's a difficult one not to drink when you watch England play, to be honest. Sometimes. But, yeah, football was massive over it. Obviously, you know how massive it is in this country. It's like
It's
the world
crazy.
cup.
It's like how the NBA was back in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where we kind of fed it to everywhere else, like around the world. And now like these players are coming to US, like really like these European teams, these Asian teams are getting really, really good. And it's like the reverse of the with football, soccer here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for everyone getting better at it, and it's great that it's spread. You know, it's probably one of the only sports that's easy to play. All you need is a ball and some grass. They don't even need grass there. You just need a ball, and you can play football. You know,
Yeah, I was gonna
whereas
say, I
like
think my
other
dad
sports,
played in the sand growing up.
yeah. I mean, I used to play on the road, and
Mhm.
you know, whereas other sports you need, you know, helmet or you know gloves or whatever. You can't just play it.
Even a net, yeah,
A
like
net,
even or
yeah.
like you
Yeah.
literally can use like 2 shoes as the goal, and you're
Yeah.
fine.
We
Yeah.
got a saying over jumpers for goalposts. That's what we used to use. Jumpers for goalposts, you know.
Mhm.
And it's a fairly simple game to play.
Yeah,
It's not
it
like
is, yeah.
crazy as far as like rules in comparison to like basketball or football.
No, just offsides is like gets kind of weird, but like that's
Yeah.
about it.
Aside from
Yeah,
that,
yeah. I don't think anyone understands that rule now. It's just made up.
No,
Right?
I think what's really fascinating, not to like just like go on, but like how technology has like changed the sport, and so like now there's instant replay, and now there's like a million cameras, and now there's like a ref that's like up at the top that they're like communicating. That never happened. So like these like mega events, these like quite literal life altering events, like you know, people have been killed for like not making a
Yeah,
goal,
that
or
happened
like
True.
in
the
country.
hand
Yeah,
of God will never happen again. You know, that'll
Nope.
never happen again.
No.
And so because of instant replay and like which is like I don't know. It's kind of interesting. And I feel like that came from American football. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that whole,
it's been in rugby over here for a long time,
Mhm.
and other sports, and it's taken a long time to move over to football. Because the Premier League is massive over this country. You know,
Right.
if a team gets relegated from the Premier League into the league below, you're talking of them losing, you know, billions of pounds of money.
Right.
So these decisions are, you know, can cost people lots of money. So that's why I had to go into it. It's still not perfect though, but it will get there.
Yeah, because it's like you can't have like I just can't imagine like what do you do in court if like like if someone goes and like sues another team for doing something that would cost another team so much money.
Yeah,
Like,
sorry to go on, but there was an incident a few seasons ago where a player handballed it on the line and
Mhm.
the team didn't score. Then they missed the penalty.
Mhm.
I think it was in the World Cup actually. It was Uruguay versus possibly Ghana or something like that.
Mhm.
And the Suarez, I think, handballed it on the line, got sent off. The player then missed the penalty, and then Uruguay won. And you think that's like cheating, basically, you know. And they need to stop that kind of stuff because it costs a lot of people a lot of money. And this
Mhm.
technology can only help, you know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's definitely interesting. It's certainly like a different game to watch then because of it, you know, and like but at the same time like when people started like faking injuries like more and more and more, that was also like a trend for a while and stuff, and that's like something that like has made me not really enjoy that. I don't enjoy that aspect of the game.
No, I don't think anyone does, but
Yeah.
it still happens and it does your head
Yeah.
in. Like people go down like they've been shot, and then the next 5 minutes they score a goal, and you're like, "What the hell's going on there?" You know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
especially if you watch like American football or rugby, and you're seeing these dudes getting like proper
Wrecked.
wrecked, and
Yeah.
they just get
Yeah.
back up, and they're like, "Let's just carry on," you know? And you're like, "What's up with this footballer? He can't."
I gotta say, shout out to the to you guys at Assembly Required because I get my dose of rugby every week.
Oh yeah, that's from Craig's Day. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
rugby league. Yeah. That's a bit. Yeah, there's two forms of rugby over here, but that's the more fun one for sure.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's more fun.
speaking of some assembly required, Cabbage, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh right, okay. Well, for my leg, let's go for about myself. It's like an interview, isn't it? I love these kind of things.
Straight into it.
Well, obviously, I live in England, the south of England. I don't live in the West Country like Greg says. I live in the West Country. I do not live anywhere near like corn, like where they're farmers and stuff. He loves to say that, but I don't. I live in a place called Salisbury, which is quite famous because of some Russians and stuff that decided to poison a load of people. So that's
Not
where
famous
it's
for the steak?
No.
Damn.
And so that's probably where it got its fame from. Lego, Lego I've always loved it's probably like you guys. When I was a kid, it was like staple toy for a kid. You know, grew up with having the castle sets and train sets, and I think I had some Paradisa and all, because I have a sister and a brother, so I had all the mix of the boy and girl sets, you know.
Nice.
So grew up with it, loved it, and then you hit probably 16, 17, and you slowly go off toys and go into playing sports, going out, socializing. And I went through my dark age, you know, probably till I was about, I want to say I came out of it because of the Ecto 1. I think, you know, the idea set. So I don't know when that came out.
You're talking about the first one, right?
Yeah, the
first
little one.
The little one. It's up there somewhere, but the little one. Yeah, that's what brought me out of my dark age, because I was like, man, that's cool. And it's like Ghostbusters, and it's Lego, and I've not done a Lego set in years. So I bought that, and then that was kind of it. From there on, I kind of fell back into the world of Lego. But I find it quite a good toy. Not a toy. I shouldn't say that, should I? I find it quite a good product to de-stress myself. I'll be allowed to say toy. Okay.
Yeah.
I find it a good toy to de-stress myself as well and distract myself. So if I had a bit of a crappy day, I'll just come and build a set, and it kind of relieves all that tension, as it were. And I think a lot of people like that with Lego and all sorts of hobbies. It just kind of takes you out of the world for a bit. You're like not in the world, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's
2014. That's
2014. There we go. So I've been back in it for was that 12 years? 12 years? Is my maths good? No, 8 years. Sorry. But obviously I didn't really share anything on social media at that point, because it wasn't massive back then in 2014. It was a thing, but it wasn't huge. There wasn't like influencers and all that kind of jazz going on then. And it wasn't until the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, I built these sets and people take pictures of them and put them on Instagram. So I started doing that. I just started taking pictures of sets, chucking it on Instagram. And I met a few people through it, got chatting to people, and kind of the rest kind of history of Lego, really. That's kind of a quick Lego history. I mean, myself, do you want to know like what I did? Was this like a job interview? This is weird.
I mean,
No.
You want to know
You
everything.
don't have to go like deep into like what you do in real life or anything like that. That's cool. Like we all have like a Lego story, and a lot of it sounds like the same. Whereas like we go into dark age, we find one thing, and we're like, whoa, that's cool. Let me build it, and then it starts becoming a habit, and then you come here. Well, like what brought you into like took the next step into social media?
So that was just taking pictures. So I think I had an Instagram account, like a personal one, and I was kind of looking through it, and I saw, looked at the hashtag Lego and saw people took pictures of their sets and stuff, and I was like, I might take a picture of a couple of sets. And then I was getting interaction, so I was like, oh, well, why don't I start a separate channel rather than put up my personal one? Because like not all my friends want to see that. They're like, you're weird, you like Lego, and I'm like, you're weird, you like football too much, so it's that kind of thing, And
Exactly.
so I do a separate channel. If they want to follow me, they can. If they don't, they don't,
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it split. I started on Instagram basically, and then kind of saw that people did YouTube videos and TikToks and all that kind of other platforms out there, and just expanded from there really. And then it's like on Instagram, you put a picture up and then somebody just says, oh, that's really cool, and you get chatting to them, and then you find kind of friends through the hobby. That makes sense.
Similar interests, yeah.
Yeah, and then you go on to like, I think I first went on to Greg's stream a few years back in the pandemic, and then you meet like Shy and Claire and stuff. You meet people along the way, and then it kind of expands from there. It's weird where it takes you. Let's put it that way.
Yes,
that's true.
Definitely. Yes, I think we all have. Yes,
My
life is very different. We've talked about
we came from a very like humble, like kind of like beginning, like not knowing where we're going, and then it becomes all these like big, serious, cool, fun relationships that you've built with people all over the world.
100%. 100%. And there's guys that I've met in this country. I've not met them in real life yet, but I will do, because life gets in the way now because we're out of the pandemic and stuff. But I'd love to meet people in real life because it'd be so. I think it'd be really weird because like I think you guys like you did a video show of people's heights, and that's the first
Yeah.
thing that's always struck me when I've met a few guys. I'm like, oh, you're taller than I thought you'd be. It's like, why is that a thing? I don't know.
I don't know. Sans is the one that
Maybe
got
we're-
me like self-conscious about it.
We're always
Why?
sitting down or
Because
something.
he
I'm
made
not
fun of me
sure.
all the time.
I
Well,
guess
he's not that much taller than me.
I know he's not, but you know,
He's not like he's one of the shorter ones. It's really funny.
how tall are you then, Shy?
I'm 5'9". But in comparison, though, when we all met, Josh was also there.
The
and
pro-
Josh
yeah,
is
the problem is
tall.
like Josh is like 6'1" or something like that.
Mhm.
Tech is like 6'2".
Right. Okay.
Like, yeah, Ninja's tall. I don't want to dox him, you know.
I'm like 5'11".
No.
5'11".
Yeah.
You got me.
You're 6 feet with shoes on. Let's just say that.
There we go.
So
Platforms.
I'm 6'3".
God
So
damn.
I'm pretty tall.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're the
6'3".
short ones.
Are you really?
Yeah, 6'3". Yeah.
That's
Wow.
really you're taller than I expected. That's so
There you go.
funny.
See.
See,
Yeah.
There
I
it
was
is.
paying 5'11" most for sure.
Yeah. Pretty,
Yeah.
You're
pretty
like,
tall.
what have I done wrong to like appear shorter? No, it's also like I remember what did Sans was so awful. He said something to Josh. He's like, I thought you were fatter in real life or something.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, that sounds
Because it's like
yeah.
he basically like something about his angle, like Josh's camera angle, like Sans I think thought he was like tubbier or something, which was like hilarious. And then Josh also he was I don't know if Josh probably just says this, but he was like when he met us, he was like, "You're much better looking in real life," and we're like,
Josh.
I
Is
that's
that
a compliment, I guess.
that's a polite way, isn't it? You're being polite.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
like, it's so strange meeting people. I suppose like when you speak to someone in the old days, when you just speak to someone on the phone, like at work, you'd only ever speak to them on the phone,
mhm.
and then you'd meet them for the first time, and you'd be like, "Oh, you're nothing like I expect you to look like."
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's like, why have you made like a visual assumption of what someone looks like by their voice? It's so weird. So
Yeah, I went.
That's
same
true.
thing, I suppose.
It's funny, like I think like especially with our group of friends, I think like Sans and I are on the shorter end of things, which we're not like on average short people. Like Holly and I are like around the same height. Emily is tall. Like Emily and Ross are like deceivingly tall. Like you're probably as tall as like Ross and you are probably the same height or something. And Emily's like 5'10". Lauren is also super tall,
Okay.
which is like
Mm.
which is so fun. Anyway, I love it. I love the height stuff. Like I think it's so fun. It doesn't mean anything and it doesn't add value or take value away from anybody, but it's so funny because you do have a visual of what people are like even when you see them and when you talk to them or whatever in your head.
Yeah,
It's like
right.
it's kind of like human nature to like visualize what they're like and what it would be like to interact with them.
Mhm.
And then when like there's dissonance between like that image and meeting them, I think it's always really really
Yeah,
fun.
and-
So wait, so why haven't you met up with it just like life and stuff? You guys like okay, so we were just in the UK and like to be fair, like we were kind of crappy and like we're only going to see like a couple people because we're only there for like 5 days and we can't if we see everybody, we're not going to see
Hmm.
the UK. And in my
Yeah.
head it was like we're going to come back, like that's not an issue. Like the UK is like one of the easiest places for us to fly to in terms of like cost. It was like
100%.
it's so cheap. Like relatively speaking, obviously, like we can sometimes find tickets for like under $500 to go, and it's direct 10 hours from San Francisco.
Wow.
So yeah, which is like it's more expensive to go to Florida most of the time. Anyway, so we were like, okay, cool, so let's go. And then Sans had never left the country, and he was like, I think we just met up with like Greg and Tech.
Heck yeah.
And then we're like, okay, next time we're gonna do a thing because like we came to Salisbury for like 2 seconds, very unexpectedly, and I really liked it because we went to Stonehenge.
Yep.
So I'm admitting now, not live or whatever, recorded that I was like in your backyard and I did not text you, and I'm very sorry because
Oh, bloody.
It's not. It's still about 25 minutes away. Isn't it?
what
It's not Stonehenge from Salisbury. It's
we
still.
we came into town. Like we
Oh,
like
wow.
yeah.
Did you see the cathedral?
Yeah, it's so
Oh, man.
beautiful. Like we
It's so
walked
cool.
around and stuff.
So
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, I would love to like stay at like a B&B or something here next time.
Yeah,
And
and then
so-
you can go to Old Sarum. So that used to be where the cathedral used to be
It's
before they moved
so
it.
pretty. Yeah,
Don't
and
know
I
who
think
moved
like
the cathedral, but someone did.
I mean, I loved it and stuff, and I think like we both like love London and stuff. I think next time if we come, we'll like do the little towns and then like see everybody and stuff. And like we
Yeah.
almost were able to see Johanna, but like that didn't work out. But okay, my point that I'm trying to make is your country is quite small and it is
Yes,
quite
it
easy
is.
to get
Yeah.
around. And we like Sans and I do not comprehend how you guys don't see each other often. Like we
So
like
it's a life, innit? I've got 2 kids,
mhm.
2 dogs now, a wife. I work, so I work 7:30 to 4:30 every day.
Now
I've got to keep the wife happy. I've got to keep the work happy. I've got to keep myself happy. So it's not always the easiest thing. And then you got friends outside of the hobby. So I've still managed
Yeah.
to keep, so that weekends are short. They're only 2 days. Work 5 days a week. So it's not always the easiest thing to meet up. I know it sounds crazy.
No, I know. I would just
but-
just make people come to you or something because you live in a nice town.
Well, there's a lot more brick festivals next year, so because they haven't been on for last year, and there's a lot of people going to.
And you can take your kids there and stuff and make it like a
so
family thing.
I'm planning to go to a few next year and hopefully meet up with like Greg and Craigster.
I was gonna
and
say that's probably
the
like the
guys I
best
speak
thing.
to. So
Yeah.
But believe it or not, it might be a small country, but sometimes it takes a long time to drive short distances because traffic is a nightmare.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Especially London. It's like I'd never drive to London. It's just a joke, really.
Yeah, so Tech drove us from London to where you are. And
how was that?
it was actually great. I mean, honestly, like we were there to spend time with him and stuff. So it was like we got to hang out and like Paige has like a really comfortable car.
Yeah.
So that was like really nice. Like she has a Mini Cooper and so it's like really cozy
Nice.
and comfy. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That was nice.
Stonehenge is notoriously bad for traffic. I don't know if you noticed the road that kind of goes by it.
Yeah, so I
sort of
remember that
standstill.
road, but they moved the road over
Yeah.
like I don't know, I think like 20
Yeah.
years ago. So I remember the road when I went the first time with my parents, and you're like driving by and you look, and it's like you just missed it because it's like you can't believe like how close it is to the road. It looks like it's like totally not a thing, but like now, as you know, they've like moved the road over and they built this entire like entrance facility, and like it feels like much more of like a thing to come to. I did not want to go, by the way. I was like, this is stupid. Sans, you're not gonna like no, it's so dumb. Like, why are you going? Like, it's like one of those just seeing rocks and just leaving. Honestly, it was his favorite thing we did the entire time. And honestly, we also ran into like a Pokemon World convention thing. So that was like, the bar was set pretty high.
Jealous.
Oh, were they playing Pokemon Go then, were they?
Yeah, no, not the Pokemon
It was
Go. It was
the
like
world.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Cup or world tournament or something like that.
Yeah, it was like the thing they have once a year, and it just like happened to be there.
Yeah.
And anyway, we were like walking along, and it's really cool, and I would recommend it. And I was definitely like, I felt stupid thinking that it was like going to be something else. But anyway, speaking of that, I'm going to use this as our transition to Cobi because I feel like people are like, stay away from that. It's stupid, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
And then like and I was proven wrong, and I've dipped my finger into like the third party, and we've talked about it here a lot, and especially when like we've had other creators that like actually do touch on those things, and I've enjoyed them. I've treated them differently than Lego, and I've enjoyed that they were like a little bit harder to build, or that they were like different parts or a different scale and a different model or different IPs that Lego will never do. And Cobi's kind of in that space of the different IPs. So how did you get into it? Like where did it come from for you?
So when I love Lego when I was a kid, but I also liked making Airfix models and like proper painter models and stuff. So I think I built like a whole airfield, like a World War II airfield when I was a kid in the shed. So I've always been really interested in World War II history. So I think that stemmed from school. I remember history, we did kind of the lead up to World War II and the history of how it started. And it was probably only one subject at school I listened and didn't get in trouble for, because I was like, this is just so interesting. And it's always been like I've just always been interested in World War II, vehicles, history, the whole thing. So when I went into Lego, I think I just Googled, like, because I was thinking, why do Lego not make this stuff? I know they do a swap with Camel, which is World War One, but I don't know why do they not make like tanks and stuff? Because that'd be really cool if they made stuff like that. And then I kind of spoke to a few people who knew a bit more about Lego than me, and they were, well, they won't ever do it because of the history and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, well, I'm just going to Google brick built tank. So I just Googled that, and that's when Brick Tanks, who I kind of affiliate and stuff with, popped up. And I went on there and had a little search, and I was like, wow, these sets are really cool, because they don't really look like brick built systems. They look more like Airfix models. And then I think I bought I want to say it was a Churchill, or I think it was my first set, which is a really random tank to buy. Probably should have gone for a Sherman or something, but I just went, I was like, I'll get that because it's British, I'll get that. And then, no, it was a Valentine, sorry, it was a Valentine, beg your pardon. And then I built it and I was like, this is really cool. And then I started kind of Googling more into Cobi and what they do, and saw all these other things like Spitfire and Harriers and all sorts of stuff. And I was just like, wow, this is so different to anything Lego does. And Lego are never going to do this. And obviously I did stumble across Brickmania as well. And I was like, well, they use Lego, but it's the shipping for me. It's not so much the price of the set. I get why the price of the set's so high, but it's like, for example, if I bought their Spitfire, I think the shipping is nearly the same price as the set.
Whew. Did you try their their resellers in Europe?
Yeah, but they don't seem to have many sets available as compared to the American side. I mean, if I ever go to America, I will head to if there's a Brickmania there, I'll go there.
I was going to say, so at Brickworld Chicago, if you ever go to that convention or whatever, but I think Tech is planning on going next year, maybe. I don't know, but I know some people from the UK are.
I think Greg's going, possibly.
Maybe, yeah. And then I know that Lauren is coming to the UK in April.
Okay. I'll have to
so yeah, you've definitely got some Lego mules for you available. if we knew, I would have brought you whatever you wanted. So
yeah, but still the price the price comparison is quite different. I think
it's extreme.
Shine the video recently kind of highlighting that, and it's a big, especially in Europe, is a big difference for me. You know, I can pay no postage for 3 sets, and I get them for under £100 or whatever, £110 or something, and I've got 3 sets then. And to be honest, I find it weird where people kind of have this brick snobbery, because it's like, you don't just have one brand of trainers, you have several, and you don't have one brand of, you don't ever stick, some people might do, but some people, brand of cars, you don't just say, oh, Mercedes is a fake Ford. It's a really weird, I know they had a patent on it, but they don't. So why is there kind of oh, Cobi's fake Lego? It's just.
I mean, a lot of people just say that. I mean, I said that for a very long time, but until I actually built one. But I actually building this last one. A lot of the pieces are pieces that Lego doesn't make.
Yeah, they're really random. Some of them.
Mega Block is like that too, and Lego's made those pieces. Now, some of the pieces, Sans knows better which ones, but there's certain pieces that came out in Mega Block first. Not many.
I think it was about 2-3 years ago, Lego tried to patent the 1x5 plate, and then Cobi and Mega were like, we've done that for years. No. And they got it chucked out and said, look, you can't patent something we've done for years, which is really interesting, to be fair, that Lego would try and stifle, well, I suppose stifling competition is quite a good thing, I suppose, if you're Lego, but
yeah, I'm so interested in how big is their team that takes care of that, or is it one of the tasks that one of their team does, or do they have a specific, how, do they have teams that are out chasing all the Chinese brands that are doing what's it called? What is it? They steal ideas.
Oh, when they have Star Force and Space.
Yeah,
Force,
whatever. Just stuff like that. Are there people that are dedicated to that? I would assume so. Is it Lego, or is it the specific IPs that are doing it, or is it just intellectual property, whatever, when people are stealing that?
Yeah, I'd imagine Disney would drive anything that comes stolen from them quite heavily.
Right, but different countries have different rules, and and granted, in the US, at least our last couple administrations have really tried to crack down on that, because intellectual property is seen as has always been seen as it's kind of a separate war that we're fighting, right, in a different way.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think it's really fascinating, and I'm so curious what the behind the curtain is on Lego's part in terms of fighting that, because I do think it's important that exists and that they do fight that. But
they took down Lepin for copying.
Totally, absolutely, and it's and I'm curious, or did they hire a third party firm to do that? Who, what is how do they do that? Do they have in-house lawyers that do that, or do they have separate patent lawyers that do that? I'm sure it's a combination of everything, but it's so interesting to me. I have no idea. I
know Chinese. I think Chinese trademark law, you have to have a factory there, so you can patent it. So that's why Apple have got one there. That's why Lego now have one there. I think that's part of the
Okay.
Chinese trademark laws. So if they didn't have that factory, they can't pursue the companies that are copying their designs. I believe so. I'm not
Interesting.
100%
Okay, got
on
it.
that,
So,
but
like, you have to basically like exist within that
the,
country and
the
within that
country,
market.
yeah.
And so, like, I was like, okay, why, let's do it. And then also, it's a massive market that has a lot of
Yeah, it's
purchasing
huge.
power. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
and
mean
it's
that's
like
probably
you
why
Interesting.
Monkey Kid was produced, wasn't it?
100% that is exactly why Monkey Kid and then like the Chinese New Year sets.
Mhm.
And then what they opened up like 2 new stores in the US last year, but like 45 or something in China,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
Yep.
which is awesome. You know, like I feel like the Chinese market could like quite literally support Lego independently for a long time.
Damn.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think Europe's still quite a big market for them. Though. No, Germany's very big. I know the German
Yeah.
market's
And
huge.
US, I mean, no, my point is like we're huge
Without
markets,
us, yeah,
but
China's
like,
population.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, I'd just be like, oh, she's a billion people right here. Boom, done.
I'm
Like,
surprised they've not tried India as well, because India's got
I
a
know. Well,
massive.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think the middle class in China, I think is still a lot stronger than India
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, probably, yeah. But yeah, that's how I got into. I found Cobi really, and then
Hmm.
ever since then I've just been kind of addicted to it really.
All right, well, let's define Kobe right quick before we move on, so that
Yeah,
way people
yeah.
understand it. What
Mm.
is Kobe?
So Cobi are a Polish company. I cannot pronounce the town they're in. Please don't make me try. But it begins with an M and ends in a C. So I think it's. I don't want to. No, I'm not going to try it because I always make myself look stupid trying to pronounce stuff. And they didn't start. I don't believe they started with military sets. They did other things. So I've got a few of their kind of really random sets they've done, like an FA Cup from football. They did town like a city line. They've done all sorts of other stuff.
Don't they have a lot of
And then
cars also?
yeah, they do car line now, but they also merged with a British company called Best Lock. You've probably never heard of them, but they were another brick built company, and I think they acquired them as part of their company. But they are Polish, and it's all made in Poland by them, so they don't buy any kind of secondhand bricks from other people like some other companies can do, like Blue Bricks and things do.
Mhm.
So it's all made by them, and all the stuff's now printed. So there's no stickers anymore. They used to have stickers, but
I didn't know that. That's
Interesting.
really cool.
now all pad printed.
That's
Mhm.
cool.
hmm
Shy is
Yeah.
the set that you built. Did it not have any stickers?
No, it came all with printed pieces that were put together.
Yes,
So like
that's the cool
that
thing.
section, yeah, it was already put together. It's not like that in the instructions, which is kind of weird. It's the same thing that like like the third party military Lego companies do when they do have a printer, they come put together. But
Yeah.
on the instructions, it's not put
I
together.
didn't know
it's just,
this.
yeah,
Is it because it's printed over multiple pieces?
yeah.
or
So
is
that way they
it-
get
Yeah.
a clean line.
I
And
don't know
there's
if
no point of breaking it back down. Just
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense. Because Lego stopped doing that. They stopped printing over multiple pieces, probably from like a supply chain, like just that step to put together
I
before.
feel like for them it's like not worth the time.
It's not worth it for like the
No,
capacity that
no. I
they
mean,
do.
Lego obviously produce much higher volumes than
Yeah.
Kobe do. So they can afford to do these quirky little things. I mean, if they ever got bigger, would that stop? Would the pad printing stop? You'd hope not, because I think it's a very good USP for them to print every single sticker.
I'm also surprised on the quality of how good it was. Like it's,
Yep.
it's a little
Like-
bit more. It's the friction's not the clutch power is definitely different. It's not the same. It doesn't feel the same, but
Yeah.
it's still good. Like it's noticeably different. They have the Kobe logo on top of the studs, just like Lego does. The ABS looks good. It feels good. It doesn't crack. It looks like a brick built thing, kind of.
Is
But
the color of the bricks consistent?
Yeah, colors
Yes.
are fine.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a good
Quality's
question.
really good.
That's a really good question.
So
Because Mega is not very good with that.
No. Yeah.
no, but I've built a few. Obviously, some of the newer sets, it's getting scarily close to Lego's clutch power now. So the older sets, you'll find you struggle to take them apart. They have a really strong clutch power, so even a brick separator, so they don't do their own brick separator, so I have to borrow a Lego one. They struggle with it. But the newer sets I've built, they're getting very close. I can take apart my fingers some parts, except for tiles and plates. But
Yeah, that's really good so that you can like it is interesting because if it's a set that you can't really take apart easily, it's kind of a different product at that point. in a much more serious way. Like
I
I know,
threw this one.
what?
Yeah,
I threw it. I tested to see if it flies, and it bounced and like hardly broke.
yep.
Yeah, but because the thing I don't know. Like one of the things about Lego is that you can take it apart and just like play with it and do something else, and like that's their
Right.
whole shtick, right? They're like you can redo this and like
Yeah.
you can imagine your whole life and you can build the world better, whatever their latest campaign is. But sure, yeah, with plastic product, we're gonna build the world better when we're drowning in like global warming, sure, whatever. That's fine. We can talk about that. That's like a completely separate conversation about like. Anyway, it's fine. But what is interesting is that like Cobi or whatever, I mean, you're saying that the clutch power is getting better, but if it's before, it's really like a model building kit, versus.
Yeah, for me, it's 100%. Oh, sorry. For me, I find that they're 100% display pieces for me. They have very little playability in them. Some of the tanks have like, you can see the engine bay and stuff, and they do move along on the tracks and things, so kids could play with them. But the aeroplanes and stuff, they're just on a stand. For me, it's kind of it is a display piece. I
I
mean,
feel like for a parent, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
If you're not like a Lego parent fan, like you simply just want your kids to build the set and just leave it there. Because I've had friends literally ask me, like friends that are not in the Lego community who buy Lego for their kids, like, do you glue these? I'm like, no.
I've seen there's so many like
get out! How dare you?
there's so many social media moms that like do so many reels and TikToks of like how awful Lego is and how much they hate it because it's like something they have to tidy and crap like that. And it's like I really like a clean house. Like, don't get me wrong. I kind of get it to a degree, but it's also like kind of annoying. It's like you bought your child this premium toy and you haven't taught your child how to clean up after themselves.
Well, yeah.
Whose problem is this? It's like kind of, I don't know. I'm not a parent. Shy, you can like, and Shy, all three of you guys can like totally school me on this.
Yeah,
but it's
tidy
like,
out.
why are you blaming the toy? Like, I don't
Well,
understand.
you blame the kid.
Yeah. I
Or
just
you
take
blame
it.
You blame yourself if the kid doesn't do
Yeah,
it.
exactly right. There's always a threat from my mum. So if I didn't tidy my room, she'd say, "I'll throw all your Lego in the bucket." You know, the big bucket. So I used to have a big bucket full of Lego. And she said, "Oh, if you don't behave yourself, I'll throw it on the floor and tidy it up." So, all right.
See, that's what I tell
yes,
them.
mum.
Except I tell them whatever I find on the floor, I'm keeping.
Yeah, I
that's
mean
another
that's a
one.
much more serious threat because
I
that's
say
real.
I'm gonna throw away anything you leave on the floor.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
if you
that they're not
Can't
gonna
throw away they don't believe it. They're like, you're not
No,
throwing away this
no,
Lego.
I've actually done it.
Wow.
Throw one
I just
toy
took
away.
it.
Throw one toy away, and then they'll never do it again.
Random
Wow.
toys, yeah, but with the
Random toy,
bricks,
yeah.
I
I'll
take
throw
it.
away a random toy that's
I
already
was like,
broken.
wait a
I'm not
second.
gonna do
They're not
like.
gonna
Okay.
believe you throwing away Lego. Look at your room. Yeah, no,
I don't.
He goes
Calling
and
your
grabs
bluff,
it
Dad.
out of the bin.
No,
out.
Yeah, I just took it.
I got tagged yesterday by an organizational, like it's not a big platform, but it was like an organization Instagram handle, and like the Home Edit and all these like famous organizing brands or whatever. It wasn't them, but like they always do like a Lego organization thing. Yeah, either that zipper or they like
Sauce or
show it.
whatever.
Yeah, they show it like organized really beautifully in like acrylic bins, sorted by color, obviously. I have thoughts on that, but whatever, it doesn't matter. And it looks like beautiful or whatever. They're like hate Lego ? Blah blah blah. This is how you can sort it so like it doesn't drive you crazy. And I'm just, what is this? Like, who are these people? Like, I'm not even coming at it from like a Lego fan. I'm just like, who are these Insta moms? Like, I don't get it. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
It's a
They
TikTok
probably
thing right
stepped on.
now.
Yeah, they probably stepped on a lot of Lego to get that annoyed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in the Lego movie for a reason.
I step on cat vomit and I don't get mad at my cat. Like,
Wow, yeah, good point.
you have a cat and you bought the Lego and you have a kid.
So,
Okay.
but to bring it back around, Kobe's set doesn't break easily. So I
No,
think
it
that's an
doesn't.
alternative.
That's what we're
Which
talking
I've
about. Damn,
dropped
we went way off.
Yeah, we did though. We had a cat vomit from Cobi. We did. Yeah, I've dropped a few of them, and they've survived the.
Like
the
I
fall.
chucked mine.
I
The
did
one that
see you
came off
chuck
was like 2
yours,
ball points. That was it.
and I was like, no way he's gonna throw that
Hell no.
Brickmania
No,
set.
that wasn't gonna happen.
I was like,
I thought about it, and I was like, no,
I thought
I
you
don't
were
know.
for a second.
I was going to. But
Man.
all right, so one thing that like is good with Cobi being better, I know a lot of people it's like, blasphemy. Is that Lego needs competition outside of like their, Mattel and all them, like an actual brick building competition to make themselves better, because they don't really have many. And when they do find someone that starts to become a threat, they either acquire or destroy them. Do you think they'll do
Yeah.
that to Cobi?
I don't, because I think they're doing a different place that Lego won't touch. Maybe if Cobi expanded into, say, City, or did a modular, or anything that Lego kind of do. And maybe if they've even got one of their IPs, then it might be a
They
different
both have
story.
Titanic.
They do both have a Titanic, yeah. But I think where they stay firmly in the military position at the moment, I think Lego are kind of like, you do your thing. We're kind of giant. We'll do our thing. Whether I would be interested to see what happened if Lego ever did a military set. What Kobe's reaction to that would be.
What's the whole beef with them and Blue Bricks in Germany right now? What's the update on? Do you know?
Kobe?
No, just Blue Bricks and Lego.
I think it's something to do with the factory that Blue Bricks uses.
Okay.
I think they use the factory. It used to be Lepin, possibly.
Oh,
And they've got Star Trek license, so maybe that might have upset them a little bit.
I can see that, yeah.
And also, Blue Bricks do a lot of failed Lego ideas sets mysteriously appear on their catalogue. So I think there's an 18 van called something else. I think there's a couple of others. I'm trying to be a bit careful how I say stuff, but yeah, I think there's a little bit of people don't get their idea made, so they sell their instructions to Blue Bricks and they make sets out of it, which is
fine.
I don't know. You feel Lego, I'm going to do it. Why not? But
I'm curious because like Cabbage, you've submitted a bunch of stuff into ideas. Like when you submit, is it then does Lego own it?
Technically, yeah, for 3 years. So they could make it 3 years after you've submitted it, and you wouldn't get any royalties. So I think that's why we had the NES, because I think that was on there. Jurassic Park Gate, I think, was on there. There's been a few sets that have been on ideas that have been made into sets. Whether that's coincidence, I don't know.
So if they're made into sets and they're not officially chosen as like a Lego idea,
yeah, the person who created it originally gets nothing because you're signing it over. It's part of the small. When you sign it over, it's in the text when you click.
Like in the fine print.
I'm happy to submit this whole idea to Lego, and you tick a box. So they've probably, but that's in this country. Whether that's the same in others, I don't know.
I'm really curious, like why that hasn't been brought up as like ethically shady.
Oh, it's massively dodgy.
Take advantage of.
I mean, what they're going to do if I was to sell my set to someone else when it's on ideas, are Lego going to pursue me as an individual? It'd be a lot of money for them to do it, and would it be worth it? What are they going to get from me? I haven't got anything to give them. So, do you see what I mean?
Like,
and I think
I totally get it from like a bottom line perspective on their part, but
it's a strange one, and it's really I've always wondered why that's never been challenged, that certain rule. I mean, obviously people have done it, so they've not pursued them, because otherwise you wouldn't have these Blue Brick sets or these other sets that, I think some of them end up on Rebrickable, the instructions, which you're not allowed to do. So according to the terms and conditions.
Jeez. Yeah, see, I never looked at them like that. That's interesting.
I may be wrong, but when I read it, when I submit an idea, that's what I got, the general gist. Once you put it on there, they have it for a few years, and you've got to wait till that lapses before you do what you want to do with it.
Well, the Bricklink design program, there was a problem with that, right? The three of the modulars, or all the modular that were on there, were supposed to be, become sets again, but then they sold the rights to Blue Bricks. But technically, they should have had that first, right? Because they shouldn't have not sold to Blue Bricks. So there was a conflict there. Yeah.
So it's a very, I mean, I could rant about Lego Ideas is a very broken platform in my eyes. I think it needs they need to fix it somehow, because it's just crazy. I mean, like the other day, a Taylor Swift Love House or something got to 10K in about an hour. I mean, I don't know what that is. So
yeah,
I voted for that.
See, Shy?
You just want the minifigure. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. I just want the minifig. I'm the problem.
But I think, it's broken. It's not broken. Whether they fix it, that's a whole new topic. But I mean, with competition is only a good thing. To go back to where we were originally, as working in an industry I work in, where there's so much competition, it's only a good thing for the companies that have competition, because if you're the only supplier, you can then charge what you want, how you want, and that's why you have competition laws and stuff to stop that happening. So it's only a good thing for Lego, and they should embrace the challenge of staying ahead of these competitors and being the best brick built system on the planet, which they probably are, to be fair. Still, I know Cobi would probably kill me if they heard me say that, but they are ahead in their packaging, the bags, the numbered bags, and in 1 to 10, rather than Cobi just having 1 and 2, and it's just a whole load of bricks in those bags. They're a little bit ahead on that kind of thing, and the quality is no doubtly better. But I think that there's a lot of companies sniffing around them at the moment. You've got Mega, who are producing some awesome He-Man sets. I've got one down here, Castle Grayskull, which I can't wait to build.
Right. And those Hot Wheels. Yeah.
And it was Hot Wheels stuff. You've got Blue Bricks that are doing some interesting things. You've got Cobi. There's so much competition that Carder, another one. They're a Korean company, I think. Okay. They're doing some interesting stuff. I think you've got some Lowe's stuff, is it, as well, that's interesting. So there's a lot of stuff out there, and if Lego don't be careful, there's plenty of people jumping in their shoes, ready for. And I think they're in a weird stage at the moment with all these big pricey sets. It's a string like the Black Panther, the Hulkbuster, to a certain degree, the Eiffel Tower. It's all very pricey and very big. And it's like, where am I putting that? Who's that aimed at? It's I find it a bit of a strange time in Lego, to be fair.
I always get like a text message or like a DM from like a friend who knows I love Lego, but they'll get like the military stuff referred to them from like Cobi or anyone else, and they'll forward it to me like, oh, is this cool? And I'm like, yeah, I guess if you don't want non-Lego, they're like, what's the difference? And they don't care. They'll just buy it and they enjoy it. And I'm starting to see a lot of people other fandoms that I follow, like Warhammer 40K, who are getting into battle tanks, like, a lot of like, they want militaristic stuff, and they haven't quite discovered like, Brickmania, Brick Veteran, Minifico, like the Lego versions of them. And when they do, they're like, nah, I'm not paying that. But they'll easily, because they don't have any loyalty to Lego, no problem, go to Cobi.
Yeah, I mean, the Cobi community's growing. So they have a Facebook community. It's got about 10, I think it's just gone over 10,000 people in it. And they've got a Reddit page, and they have a YouTube channel as well. And they do a weekly live stream where they talk about new sets that are coming out and things like that. So the community is growing. I mean, it's for the best part, it's quite friendly. I mean, there's a little bit of like Lego. There's a bit of interesting kind of arguments at the moment between scale sizes, which is quite interesting, because they tend to be pushing 1 to 35 quite heavily, which I think they're trying to compete with Brickmania at the moment with the 1 to 35. And people prefer the 1 to 28 because you get bigger set, more detail, etc. I'm on the fence with it because I think they all look all right, but some of the diehard Cobi fans have been collecting for years are going proper crazy about it, which is quite interesting.
Like 6-star versus 8-star speed champions.
That's exactly right. So you get that in every community. You get the diehard fans and the new fans and all that kind of stuff. But generally I find it's quite a chilled out place, to be fair. People moan they do the same set again and again, but that's mainly from a marketing and profit kind of point of view. If you keep doing the same set as popular, it's going to sell, isn't it?
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that. That's why I keep telling Brickmania or people who work for them, I'm like, hey, you're missing like your key products that everybody wants, like a Sherman tank. Where's your Sherman tank? Where's your Humvee?
I mean, Cobi got about 15 different Sherman tanks. They're just different versions of it with different, like Calliope or whatever on top, or whatever you want to put on it. They've got but this is the Sherman tank, so it's pretty much the same model until you do the outside, the turret and stuff. So, and I always make a joke about it. We're going to get another Sherman in a minute. That's how many Shermans they do. But they're such a popular tank. It's no brainer, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely no brainer.
What about the minifig though?
Yeah, now the minifig is Lego fans absolutely hate it.
Do you have one handy?
I got one up here. Yeah, I'll show you. It's
man.
a bit dark in it though.
For those that are watching,
there he is.
Oh man,
he's one from the Spitfire.
It's unique.
You can't really see.
You
can't really see him. Sorry.
Do they have knees?
No, they have like a fixed leg.
Interesting.
It's like a short mini doll.
A treat
They're
for the viewers.
goofy.
They're a bit creepy. I
Yeah.
must admit, some of them are worse than others, right?
Mhm.
So some of them are really bad, and you're like, he's like, look, they look a bit soulless because they've got these weird white pupils going on. So they look a bit zombified. But some of them are really good. So it's a bit of a mixed bag with them. And the printing on
Okay.
them is very, very good. The printing
Okay.
generally is very nice on the newer ones. I think have you got Maverick there? Is that Maverick from Top Gun? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's quite cool.
I
minifig to
wasn't
have.
expecting the leg articulation. I was not expecting that to move because this kind of looks like a mini doll to an extent,
Yeah.
but mini dolls don't move their legs. So, but this one
Has that got the removable boots as well? Because the new ones
No,
you
it
can take the
doesn't.
boots off.
Oh, you
So
can take boots off?
Interesting.
yeah. So you can change your boots around, if they're in the snow or whatever.
I was gonna say, I think that the Lulls win with the knees. Mini
Oh, they
figures
got.
with knees.
There's a bit like Mega's ones. They're a bit like an action figure, aren't they?
Yeah, knees are important.
Actually, now that you brought that up, I think Mega are my favorite, but
Oof,
that's a different
I'll take it.
conversation.
But I think where people are so used to associating a minifigure with a brick built system, when anything else is put with a brick built system, they kind of go, "What on earth's this?" A bit like a mini doll, When the mini doll first came out, people were like, "What the hell is this thing? It looks weird," and then people grew to love it, and then I'm getting used to Cobi minifigs, so I'm kind of like, some are worse than others. I'm like, yeah, they're cool, but they used to have Lego minifigures. They used to have, back in the day, they used to have copies of them, and then they obviously got in trouble. That changed because that is patented still, isn't it?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
they cannot do that.
So the one thing they're gonna hold on to life.
It's like
Oh,
their
yeah.
bread and butter now.
I mean, minifigs are massive for Lego, aren't they? We all know that as Lego.
Is it the same way with Cobi, or is there a trade
Yeah,
for it?
yeah. People do collect the Cobi figures, believe it or not, they do, because they have some interesting historical figures, and they've got into some trouble before with some of them because they've picked kind of high-ranking German officers and things. They had like Rommel, and they've never obviously had a Hitler, which would be crazy, but they've had some higher ones up there, and one of them got pulled before it came out, and they changed the minifigure. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, and it caused a lot of trouble in Germany. And I kind of get it to a certain point. You shouldn't really glorify these people and making figures of them, really.
We can glorify them, no, but we also can't pretend like
Historical.
it didn't happen. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's why history is so important.
Allies need an enemy.
No, like my favorite, there's like so many, I mean, like, I don't want to talk about it here, but like, there's like this entire rhetoric on Twitter about like the Holocaust was fake. And,
Oh, don't.
and like, it's like, you're like, what? And it's such a popular sentiment that it's not like, you're not like, okay, you're like a flat earther or whatever, but like, it's weird. It's just like, it's weird to me. Like that stuff is like, kind of
just
like,
go to these places. It happens.
There's also other genocides that have been like swept under the rug. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, like we just like don't get taught about stuff anymore, and like like people don't know what happened in Armenia and Cambodia and like any of these places.
I don't.
And anyway, it's just wacky to me, and it's like, and then we get upset about like instead of getting upset about that, we're getting upset about a plastic doll that's being made.
Even like the Bosnian War and stuff, I don't think we get taught about that. All those kind of things.
I remember that significantly. Those were like some of the
Yeah.
most traumatizing images as a child that I ever saw.
And the first Iraq War, I wasn't very old then, but that's the thing with this history. It has to be taught, because otherwise, look at Russia now. People continue to make the same mistakes, and you can't have that. You've got to learn by the past. You can't just hide the past. Things aren't right that happened in the past, but you still got to learn from it and teach it to kids. And luckily, like my kids still learn about World War II and things like that, and go on the trips to the battlefields in France and things, and learn about it, which is great.
Oh yeah, you can't. I mean, I'm curious, like at what age do people like going to Normandy and like seeing the cemeteries and stuff like that, and like same with Arlington. You know what I mean? Like I remember, I think it was like 13. They like take you to school here,
About that.
and they like you actually like definitely it like freaks you out when you see like just the quantity of people. Like it's intentionally done like that. We have actually a military cemetery here in San Francisco. Like I don't know if you've ever been, but it like literally has a view of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's So it's like it's probably the best real estate. That and the VA hospital have some of the best real estate in like all of San Francisco. And it's gorgeous. But anyway, and it like like there's a certain age where like I think kids don't get it, and then when they get it, you know what I mean? It's like I
Yeah.
think it's important to like expose them to it and stuff.
Yeah, I
Which is
mean,
like
have you guys been to Omaha? I mean, that's just like nothing can explain Omaha Beach and the cemetery there. You just can't describe it to people until you
no,
walk into
it's
it, and you're just
easy.
like,
Yeah.
and it's completely silent, and you're like, it's so
So
overwhelming.
I just did this
It's quite
with Ezra.
emotional.
Mhm.
So Ezra's been asking a lot about death, like what is death, what happens, all that kind of stuff. Are you gonna die, blah blah. And when he actually cried when I actually told him what it was, which is good. I had to look it up. I'm like, is this good for these kids to learn about this right now? And they're like, actually, it's a sign of intelligence, so it's actually pretty smart. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let's run with this. So when we were in Mexico, 3 weeks ago, I took them to the part of the cemetery where it's just kids, because they do, Dias de los Muertos over there. So when the kids all come back, they all come back together. You know what I mean? They're not scattered throughout the cemetery. So if my
Wow.
family down there is like, go bring Ezra over there. And like, although it's not Arlington, because it's a lot more messy and with no order, it like definitely hit him that like, oh crap, I can't just do whatever I want because I can die.
Yeah.
So like, and he's standing next to like these kids who only lived for like a couple months to a couple years. The plot sizes are small, and he's been to the cemetery before, but it's always because like an older person has passed. Like, I don't want the noodles. So I don't know when the good time for it to click though, because I don't know if it clicked yet. You know what I mean? With looking at all that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I mean, probably when he's older, it probably will sink in a bit more.
He sees me go visit some friends every year, Memorial Day. So he asks me, what are we doing here? In fact, he comes with me. I have to explain like why I'm here, what this is.
Yeah.
And then he's respectful and just keeps quiet, and then back into the move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we'll have to learn about, isn't it? At some point, sadly, life and death.
I mean, you
Yeah,
have
it's like you
to.
want to keep them away from it for a long time, but then it's also like it's important to comprehend it. I
Technically.
don't know. I honestly like. Do you guys remember when you like had a grasp of it? Like I don't really.
That's what I was just trying to think. I was like,
I
I've never really had a
think the first time it hit
conversation.
me is when a friend was a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine. Her younger cousin was hit by a car and he didn't make it. I think that's when it hit me. We were like 8.
Yeah, I think for me is when a girl at like high school for you, secondary school here, she was diabetic, I think, and she had a shock. Well, if you go in shock or whatever it is, and she died at school. I think that was kind of the first thing. Like, well,
Yeah, it's like until you experience it like yourself or whatever. You know.
like 14.
And sadly, as you get
like,
older, it happens more often than when
Right.
you're young.
Yeah,
you know what I
sadly,
mean?
as we
When
get
you're young,
older.
it's tragic. It's like
Yeah.
what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So you kind of take it differently. So you don't really comprehend like losing somebody until you actually do lose somebody, no matter how much you're prepped for it.
Yeah.
So
No, and I don't think like toys and stuff are gonna like necessarily like help with that. You know what I mean? Like I don't think, but it's like it is important for people to like comprehend history and like what it means and stuff like that. And I'm curious that like I think what people are like panicked about is like if you have military Lego and you give your kid military Lego. I don't believe this. I'm just like FYI. This is just like I think what people think. Then it's gonna encourage it's going to
Violence.
glorify the violence of war and the violence of military, and it's going to potentially lead your child to wanting to participate in something like that. And so I
Lego
think,
acknowledge that though. Lego acknowledge that all boys like to play war some facet. That's why they do Star Wars. That's why they do Castle.
no, I know that, but like I can see like parents that are hyper like concerned about them. That's like the thought process, right? They're like it's kind of the same thing. It's like I don't want them playing like Call of Duty until they're like older or something like that, you know, because it also like desensitizes things. Like I know that like I've definitely seen a difference. Like people who grew up playing like pretty violent video games, they're not necessarily more violent, but they're like desensitized. to certain things.
Yeah.
Like,
There's I agree with that 100%.
shock value with stuff. Like even like Sam and I have completely different like shock values of stuff, like visual things that are like impacted. You know, like things that we see on TV or whatever. We have different experiences simply because of like things we've been exposed to. You know.
It's just like with the internet, when we were kids with the internet, it wasn't really super regulated.
No.
So me and my friends would just look up the craziest videos we could find.
You're
Just
those
to look
kids.
that shit up. Yeah.
Yeah, you're on those websites, yeah. But that's the thing. I think I get why Lego don't want to, because it does cause a lot of controversy still. I mean, there was a recent shop in Germany that sells Cobi, and people kind of spray painted the windows, like, I think they had a tiger tank at the front, and people spray painted it saying, "Why are you selling kind of like this Nazi stuff and that, and it shouldn't be allowed," you know? So there still is that kind of real fine line with people that think, you know, if you shouldn't sell anything that's German or Nazi, but then you have to have both sides of the argument, you know, because otherwise you just can't do it. It's not going to work, is it? But for
You
me,
need a bad guy.
I think it would be different though if like neo-Nazis didn't exist. You know what I mean? I think if it was like, if we were like, oh yeah, you're right, like we don't have, you know, people with these beliefs still existing and still, you know, like coming together. I think that's the issue. You know what I mean? I feel like if we were all on the same page being like, yeah, Nazism is bad, then it would be a little bit different. And you're just like, oh yeah, it's this historic thing. Maybe, I don't know, that's just like me conjecturing, I guess.
I will say, as someone who does buy a lot of like military Lego, both sides, you know, German, Japanese, everybody, Brickmania doesn't do them like named characters, or they'll do the swastika. They'll never do the swastika. They'll do
no.
They'll do something else. They'll do like a brick kind of thing.
Yeah.
But another company, I'll just share it down now because I don't care about them. Minifig Co. They dropped, you know, a couple of Stalin figs and, you know, other, you know, named characters from that war, and like they've done SS, and like I've looked at that and like I'm still, even though I'm all for knowing our history, knowing that, like, you know, not forgetting about it, you know, having military Lego like available to children, teaching all that kind of stuff. It still was a shock to me to see that, because you have something that's so innocent. It's supposed to be so innocent.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
the thing.
dark behind it that it's like very hard to like for people to. I mean, for me, it was like, oh my gosh. So I can only imagine how, you know, people who are not really in the fandom or care as much, if they were to see Lego make a Hitler minifigure or an SS minifigure wearing black.
Yeah, I mean, that would be just insane. Like, even you know, there's no need for that because it's like a toy, and
that's a lot of the argument now with a lot of the modern military. It's like, who are they going to fight? So then you would say, well, it would have to be the Taliban, because that's like, you know, U.S. versus the Taliban. But then it's like you're teaching the wrong thing. Like, okay, then you're gonna have all these people, you know, in the Muslim community all pissed off. So that's like, you know, it's a very very dicey line of realism that I know Lego just doesn't want to mess with. It's just
it's a can of worms, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It's not their responsibility to help teach history with that. That's like not what they're there for. You know, I think like their approach on like being like, no, we encourage like, you know, different use of the brain by, you know, building something three-dimensionally and like engineering and like STEAM, whatever you want to call it. And like, I think it's STEAM now, but like, you know, like that kind of, from an education perspective, I think that is a much savvier. I'm not looking to Lego to, you know, teach my future children about the historical, you know, the history and the relevance and stuff like this. I feel like the military Lego, and you guys, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think there's like there's a lot of kids like at Brickmania and stuff, there's always kids there, they're like super into it, but it certainly feels like more of like an adult model hobby.
Yeah, I mean, so the military thing's interesting because I go to like they have Tank Fest over here at the Tank Museum and stuff, where you go watch the historical tanks drive around and all that kind of stuff. And there's still quite a few kids that go to that, you know, that are interested in it. I mean, tanks are pretty cool. I know they're designed to do one thing.
Objectively, they're cool.
Yeah, as a kid, you
From
know,
an engineering perspective, it's huge. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, but they are designed for one kind of thing. Same with fighter planes and all that kind of stuff. But they're still quite a cool vehicle. So I think I can't see that how a Cobi set would kind of encourage a child to be violent or join, you know, want to do that any more than playing, say, like getting a plastic gun and playing soldiers or whatever would. There's no, I can't.
But a lot of those like same parents are like like they're like no toy guns, no violent video games, no like military glorification, because there's people out there and their thoughts are totally, valid, just as the opposite side is, that think like war is bad, any war is all awful, like no war should have ever been fought, like just like that kind of thought process. That's not my thought process, but a lot of people feel that way,
Yep.
which is I don't want. I'm like holding back my thoughts on that, but there's a big group of people that feel that way, and globally speaking, and so
I'm not
like
one of those people.
no, we know that. We've obviously talked about that. That would be unfortunate if you felt that way, given your history. But I just think that like I think that's where a lot of that like anti-military Lego stuff is like probably stemming from. And then like Lego's like I just don't even want to deal with it. And like what's the point? Like it's not like a margin and a market that like is gonna make or break us. And so like let's not even like touch it,
Yeah, but they're still benefiting from Brick Mania anyways.
Oh,
Brick
yeah.
Mania.
Right.
They're buying the bricks on, yeah.
Yeah. So technically they're doing it without doing it.
Like,
But
just keep it how it is.
yeah, like it makes sense though. Like if you think of, and that's why I always like approach it as like if we do modern military and Lego, it doesn't have to be an actual country. It can be fictitious and all that kind of stuff. I think that's always the best idea. Like it'd be a fake uniform, use modern planes against like, an alien or something. It doesn't have to be another country. It
Would
doesn't
it
have to be
be-
Russia and Ukraine. It doesn't have to be them.
Would it be as good though if it's not?
You're still I don't know, but it if you made it like a modern day F-22 out of Lego, which they have kind of and clearly, but if you were to make a modern day one and then it's attacking or it's being chased by like a UFO,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It's not a country versus a country, or an F-16, which a lot of countries in the world use.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in the United States. So
Yeah, I mean, they obviously because of the war in Ukraine, sorry, they were worried about doing Soviet sets because people were like, "You're going to still carry on doing Soviet sets in World War II," which they are. They said, "Well, it's not the same, it's not the same thing anymore. Russia and Soviet Union." So that was quite an interesting thing because obviously I was thinking, well, there's no way they're going to do those because of what's going on. They said, no, we're going to carry on doing them. We're not going to do any modern Russian stuff, but we're going to do the World War II stuff.
yeah,
So-
I don't know if Brick Mania made that decision too. They just haven't made a modern day one. They made the the ones that the Ukrainians took over, but they didn't make any new modern. I wouldn't buy one anyways, just because of how poorly they're doing. Like
Yeah.
it's like, you know what I mean? It's just like
I quite like a Russian tank though, the modern one, but it's controversial maybe.
yeah. I mean, but in essence, like I feel uncomfortable buying the modern Russian tanks, and Brick Mania right now doesn't sell any.
No.
They do have it in like fighting on the Ukraine side, but not the Russian side. There's no enemy there, which is interesting too to note. But I think we left on a good. This is a good note to pretty much stop it here. So
Yeah, cool.
thanks, Cabbage, for
That's
giving
all
us some insight. We kind of got dark there at the end. Very
Heavy,
dark.
isn't
So
it?
we apologize if you made it to this point. Reality did hit us in the face here in this episode for some reason, even though we're talking about a brick plastic product meant for children. But
Maybe
it
it's
is
the
what it is.
competition talk. Maybe that's what.
Hey,
I don't
hey.
know.
Competition leads to war. What? Sorry. What? Just kidding. Anyone else have anything to say before we end the episode? No. Thanks,
No.
Cabbage, for joining us. We
That's
hope you had
it.
a
No
good
problem at
time.
all.
With that being said, let's roll that music. Have a good night, everyone. Peace. Bye. I just want to pass out. On the floor.